You're looking at the 2024-2025 Indiana Pacers, a team led by Rick Carlisle, Tyrese Halliburton, Miles Turner, and Pascal Siakam, and some pure, ethical hoops. Was this fourth-seeded small-market team really an underdog? Should we have seen the finals run coming? Or is this playoff run more insane than any of us realized? How unlikely were the 2025 Indiana Pacers? In the last 31 NBA seasons, there have been 13 different teams to win the NBA Finals. Teams like the Thunder, Nuggets, Bucks, and Raptors winning it once, and teams like the Warriors, Lakers, and Spurs getting 4 or more rings. Of these 13 teams and their 31 finals wins, 18 were 1 seeds, 6 were 2 seeds, and 6 were 3 seeds, which means the only team that was 4th seeded or lower to win the finals was the 1995 6th-seeded Houston Rockets. The 2025 Indiana Pacers entered the playoffs as the 4th seed, which is already not a great metric when it comes to winning the whole thing. Coming into the playoffs, the Pacers were plus 6,600 to win the finals. Not only that, but the path to the finals would not be easy. If the Pacers wanted to make the finals, they would have to get through the Milwaukee Bucks, led by an MVP caliber Giannis Antetokounmpo, beat the Cavaliers coming off their best regular season since the 2008 LeBron-led team, beat the 51-win Knicks, and close with the Thunder, having their best season ever. But let's go back a little bit. Before the playoffs, before the Magic, before the buzzer beaters, how did we get here? The Indiana Pacers started the season 10-15, allowing 117.4 points per game to opponents, which would have put them in 25th to end the season. Obi Toppin was being cited as a defensive liability. Halliburton's field goal percentage was around 41% through December, and he wasn't shooting the three-pointer well either, at just around 32%. James Wiseman suffered an Achilles injury in the season opener, foreshadowing. Similarly, Isaiah Jackson suffered the same injury in a November 1st game against the Pelicans. Both Aaron Naismith and Andrew Nembhard missed significant time, and the on-court struggles continued. Halliburton was talking about experiencing real self-doubt, even though this team had been to the Eastern Conference Finals just the year before. Miles Turner's 2-point field goal percentage was at a career low early in the season. The struggles were early and often, and people began to turn a blind eye to any sliver of hope the Indiana Pacers had at a playoff run. This was not a team that was supposed to contend for any sort of championship. Then came January. The Pacers went 10-2, averaging almost 120 points per game. Tyrese was shooting the 3-ball at 44%. Siakam had his best month of the regular season, averaging over 22 a game. And opposing teams averaged just 108 points per game, which if we compare defensive stats to earlier in the season was almost 10 points lower. In fact, in the Pacers' last 48 games, they won an astonishing 34-14. This team secured the 4th seed and seemed like a legit contender based off their 2025 stats. However, they were still being overlooked, with some experts picking the Bucks to win the first series, despite Damian Lillard being questionable for Game 1 because of recent blood clot issues. In Game 1, the Pacers handled the Bucks with ease in Indiana behind a 25-point, 7-rebound Pascal Siakam game and a modest double-double from Tyrese. Giannis posted 36 points but lacked the necessary help to post the win, which we would see a lot in this series. Game 2 saw a similar storyline where the Pacers led most of the game and won by 8. Game 3 was won by the Bucks behind a 37-point performance from both Giannis and Gary Trent Jr. Was not familiar with your game. Then the Pacers won Game 4 in Milwaukee by 13, but the main story to come out of this one was the injury to Damian Lillard, an Achilles injury. A tragic first and hopefully only Achilles injury to a superstar with the number 0 in the East. Then came Game 5, back to Indiana with the Pacers looking to close the series. Dame's out and Giannis has no help, so it looks like an easy win. But the Pacers go down by 20 early and it seems to be over with. But of course, the Pacers fight their way back until Tyrese hits a game-tying dunk with just 10 seconds left. In overtime, Gary Trent Jr. comes alive and has the Bucks up 7 with 35 seconds left. 35 seconds left. It seems to be over unless Andrew Nembhard hits a 3 from Kazakhstan, and the Bucks commit the worst turnover that I've ever seen. And then Tyrese drives to the rack and gets fouled to go down by 1. But all Milwaukee needs to do is pass the ball in, get fouled, not throw it through anyone's legs, and the game should be over. Wow. Tyrese Halliburton then gets Antetokounmpo on an island and absolutely dices, cooks, and fries him. He hits the lay with a second left, and Indiana's moving on. An 8-point deficit with 35 seconds left. Pacers win. And thus begins one of the greatest finals runs I've ever seen. Indiana reaches the second round and meets with the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have just swept the Miami Heat. Experts begin to pick the Cavs over the Pacers. Well, you get the idea. No way the Pacers, a team with virtually no superstar, a team that didn't have a player who led both teams in scoring in any of the 5 games against Milwaukee, a team that had an up-and-down season, will beat Cleveland, let alone in 5 games, right? Game 1 in Cleveland, and the Pacers are out in front most of the game. They actually lead the entirety of the game until 3:16 left in the third, when Evan Mobley hits a 2-point shot to take the lead. But it didn't matter as the Pacers went on to win by 9 behind 20-plus point performances from both Andrew Nembhard and Tyrese Haliburton. Game 2 in Cleveland now becomes somewhat of a must-win for the Cavs. Turns out the Cavs are up 20 midway through the third quarter. Even though the Pacers come back late in the game, it doesn't seem to be much of an issue. And with just 47 seconds left, the Cavs do find themselves up 7 points with Siakam at the free throw line. Seems like an easy Cleveland win, and one that should tie up the series. Pascal misses the free throw, and Aaron Naismith turns into prime Michael Jordan, not the only time that this will happen in the playoffs, and dunks all over Donovan Mitchell. Down by 5. Pacers get the ball back and inbound with around 35 seconds left, and Siakam hits a nice right-handed layup. Get the ball back after a defensive stop, and Tyrese gets fouled going to the rim with 12.4 left. He hits the front end but misses the second. Surely the Cavs will get the rebound up 2, get fouled, and close out this must-win game in their home stadium, right? Just watch. Rebound Tyrese. He dribbles around like a lunatic, squares up with the young defender in Ty Jerome, puts him on an island, steps back, and games the Cavs. Donovan Mitchell dropped 48 points, but it does not matter as the Pacers go up 2-0. Haliburton struggles in Game 3, not that it matters because Donovan Mitchell scores 43 points and the Cavs steal one in Indiana. The Pacers dominate Game 4 behind 3 20-point performances and go on to win the series behind a 31-point outburst from Tyrese and a dagger from Miles Turner. Donovan Mitchell averaged 34 a game, but once again, the Pacers have won a series in just 5 games. Alright, let's stop for a second. The first series against Milwaukee, we can move past. The Pacers were the higher seed, Giannis had no help, and most predicted them to win. Even though Game 5 was an absolute black magic miracle, still not an insane series ending. But this is the Cleveland Cavaliers, the 64-win juggernaut who are supposed to meet the Thunder in the finals. So what gives? How is Indiana doing this? Is it pure grit? Is it some sort of clutch gene? The answer is yes. This team plays so well together. There's no star hogging the ball, there's no competing personalities, and there's no lack of effort. What they do have is a pass-first superstar who rises to the occasion, some scores and lockdown defenders, and bench depth effort that a coach could only dream of. It's the perfect assembly of slept-on, underrated, but talented basketball players who just want it more than everyone else, and they're playing the best basketball of their lives. But next up is the Knicks, an absolute Goliath of a team who have just handled the Celtics in 6 games, with Tatum going down in Game 4. Brunson looks like a top 10 player, Cat is putting up crazy numbers, Josh Hart is playing every single minute of the game, and they have some very dedicated and outspoken fans. Seems like this should be really the end of the run. The Cavs could have been fraudulent, but there's no way that the Knicks are losing this one. See? Look at what the experts say. The Knicks open the series with minus 160 odds, and most fans decide that this is the end of the run. The Pacers have had a great couple of comebacks, it's a great storyline, but there's no way the Indiana Pacers beat the New York Knicks. The back-and-forth Game 1 in New York turns into a big Knicks lead late in the fourth. They go up 16 with around 7 minutes left and hang on to that lead for quite some time. With just under 3 minutes left, they still possess a 14-point lead, and ESPN has the Knicks at a 99.7% chance to win. 99.7. Then we get the Aaron Naismith game. He hits a 3 to cut the lead to 6, and we begin to think that it's a clutch shot, but just too little too late as the Knicks get the ball back, and Cat drives in, dishes it to Macau, gets it back, and hits the clutch lay. Up by 8. Pacers get the ball back with around 35 left, and Aaron Naismith pulls up for Milwaukee. Down 5. Pacers get the ball back. Another one. What is going on? The Pacers foul, and Cat misses the second of 2 free throws, and the Pacers get the board. Aaron Naismith gets fouled, goes to the line, and hits both free throws, to be down by 1. Jalen Brunson almost commits the worst turnover that I've ever seen in the NBA, but gets bailed out by OG Anunoby, who gets fouled. He misses one of the free throws, the Pacers come down. Tyrese Haliburton does the same thing that he did against the Cavs and games them with a 3. Or so he thought. He hits the choke celly, but realizes that his toe was on the line, so we're going to overtime. The Pacers hit some clutch shots in OT, like this one from Moby Toppin, and they come out with a 3-point win. Down 14 with just under 3 minutes left, another win. Game 2 is a must-win for the Knicks, but once again, the Pacers go into MSG, and behind a 39-point outburst from Pascal Siakam, the Pacers get the win. The Knicks make things interesting down the stretch, but Indiana hangs on to win by 5. Game 3 in Indy, and the Pacers have a quiet game and lose at home by 6. Game 4, and the Pacers drop 130 at home to get the win. Absolute dominance and beautiful basketball all around. Haliburton has a 32, 12, and 15 game with 0 turnovers. That's 32 points, 12 rebounds, 15 assists. Let that sink in. Game 5 is back in New York, and behind 32 from Brunson, the Knicks get the 17-point win. Game 6 is in Indy, and all the pressure is on. Knicks in 7 is being heard around the nation, and the Pacers don't want to be the next 3-1 lead culprit. But behind stellar defense and a 31-point Pascal Siakam effort, they close out the series in a 17-point dominant win. Here come the finals, the NBA's biggest stage. We have the number 1 seed, young and talented, unmatched aura-filled, dominant, no one can stop Thunder, and the Indiana Pacers. A team that isn't supposed to be here. A team that is scraping by wins but dominating series. A team with players' names that none of your grandmothers would know. Those Indiana Pacers. In Game 1 of the NBA Finals, Shea is going off and Tyrese is having a quiet game. The Thunder lead the whole game. Literally, the entire game. But this is the Indiana Pacers. The team is so scrappy and so determined that people are creating a dark magic narrative for their crazy comebacks and game-winning shots. The Pacers claw their way back, and Shea misses a jumper with just 10 seconds left. Rebound Indiana. Ball to Haliburton. Takes it across the court, pulls up just inside the three-point line. Bang. But just one bang. Another comeback, and another game winner. Game 2 is dominated by the Thunder in a 16-point win. Game 3 sees a Benedict Mathurin 27-point outburst and a Pacers win. It seems like the Pacers are in control of the series and controlling the momentum. Game 4 is what I'm going to call a turning point in this series. The Pacers are at home with a chance to go up 3-1. They go into the fourth quarter up 7, but end up losing the game by the same tally. Shea hits his free throws. You knew I had to include it. And the series is tied. Disappointing for our Pacers, but not series-ending. Game 5 and Jalen Williams drops 40 as the Thunder take a 3-2 series lead, and we go back to Indy. Tough place for our Pacers to be. Back to Indianapolis, and the Pacers put on an absolute show, winning by 17 and having 7 guys in double figures and holding the MVP to just 21. The stage is set. The underdog, gritty, shouldn't be here Pacers, and the aura-filled, free-throw merchant, it's got to be their time Thunder. Game 7 for it all. Tyrese comes out red hot, hitting 3 threes early in the game. This is going to be a good one. And then, it happens. With 5 minutes and 3 seconds left in the first quarter, Tyrese Haliburton drives on SGA. His foot extends, and his Achilles tears. The guy that's gotten their team this far, the guy that hit all the crazy shots, led the comebacks, proved the voters on the most overrated award wrong, the anchor of this team, the driving force behind the lovable Pacers, done for the game. The Thunder go on to command the game after halftime and win by 12 behind a 29-point SGA performance. And this video is not to take anything away from the Thunder. They were the best team, and they deserve this. This video is to highlight the unlikeliness of the Pacers' run. And it stinks that it ended this way, in a what if. What if Tyrese stays in the game? What if the Pacers win and this is the greatest championship underdog run ever? What if the Thunder don't get this one and the squad never wins one? A lot of unanswered questions because of an injury. But I don't want to end the video on this sad note. I don't want a what if to be what's remembered of the Pacers run. I made this video to note what is one of my favorite stories in the modern NBA. A team that fought for everything. an unconventional winning team in today's league, a team that came so close to winning it all, but will likely be more forgotten when it comes to the 25 season. Here's to the Indiana Pacers.